So yeah, like Alice said, I'm Mackenzie. This is my third year speaking at Turning Green. I'm so excited to be here, and you all are just so inspiring to me. So it's really an honor for me to. I wish we could meet in person, but it seems like you guys have been able to create this community and get to know each other virtually, which is really amazing. So I'm really excited to be here. Search this. Like Alice said, our organization works with schools around the country to eliminate herbicides. And so I'll show you a video in a second to kind of show how we came to be. But even with students, distance learning, we're still rocking it. And so if this is something that's interesting to you, contact me after if you want to bring this campaign to your school. And just to give you a little background on who I am, I'm born and raised in Hawaii. And when I was in high school, there was a big movement to ban GMOs because Hawaii is ground zero for industrial agriculture, and they test all the GMO seed corn before it gets shipped to places like Iowa. And so on some of the islands, they're doing immense amount of chemical testing these seeds to make sure that they were resistant to the pesticides. And as a result, communities were getting really sick. A lot of people were getting cancer. Hawaii had 10 times the rate of birth defects. And so this is something that I followed really closely as I began to learn more about these issues. And I think that just like probably, I'm sure all of you, kind of your upbringing or maybe something, from just learning stuff about where you live has shaped your understanding of the world and what you care about. And for me, it definitely has. And I think I just share that because I think we all come from a place where there's certain things happening in your backyard. Just I know that was the case for Judy and Aaron, getting passionate about environmental issues. And so that's just a little bit about who I am. And that's why when I went to college, and you'll see the origin story, but when I started this campaign, it was really because I had already had this knowledge of these issues from my upbringing. And so for you all, I would love to make this kind of interactive. So as I'm saying things, if you want to write in the chat, kind of if you are feeling these same ways. But I think for me, at a certain point, there was just there was no way that I couldn't do something about something anymore. I came face to face with a problem. And I think, the reason why you are all here is because you felt the same way. There is something you care about, and you want to do something about it now. And you've entered this contest, and now you're here. And so, if you maybe want to write in the chat, if there was one of the days of the Project Green Challenge that spoke to you the most, or one theme that you care about, I would love to kind of hear an issue that speaks to you the most, to learn what you all care about. And while you're doing that, I will share this video just to give you a little background.
In my sophomore year, I took an environmental biology class, and my professor told us they sprayed tons of herbicides and pesticides like Roundup all over campus. The following spring, I showed up for volleyball practice one morning, and our coach said, if the ball rolls off the court, don't go and chase it, because an herbicide had just been sprayed everywhere around the court. The World Health Organization has declared glyphosate a probable carcinogen, and that's just the active ingredient in Roundup. They say the most toxic part about it is the formulation with all these other chemicals. I was completely shocked, and so was my teammate, Bridget Gustafson, and we thought that it's borderline criminal to be spraying herbicides around young women in reproductive age with skin exposed. And so this moment on the court kind of seemed like the perfect time to do something about it.
As a freshman, I was kind of unaware of what we could do as students to really get involved on campus. And she kind of just took me under her wing and was like, we can do this. And we have a platform as student athletes to be able to speak out.
The first thing that we did was meet with the groundskeeper, and he said, I just don't have the staff to be able to pick the weeds by hand. And so we said, perfect, we have 20 girls on our team, we can pick the weeds for you. really done about 8 work days by now, where we get a bunch of students to come out, and students are working side by side with groundskeepers. And on the other hand, we're really trying to explore what are our aesthetic goals and why do we have to think about weeds in this way, and how can we use weeds as medicine and as food.
This is Malva neglecta. It's in the same family as okra, actually.
There's so much that we don't understand about our natural environment, and this is such a great way to kind of explore what's right before our eyes.
What I really appreciate about Mackenzie's leadership is that for her, this isn't just this abstract idea of ridding our community of toxics. This is really about connecting with the people who are most affected. It is about the kind of world she wants to live in, the world she wants her family to inhabit.
So we got herbicides banned from the courts, and then we started to put together this student group, and we got glyphosate banned from every UC school, which was a huge victory. That was the moment when I thought, this really has the potential to grow into something big.
In the first case of its kind to reach trial, Dwayne Johnson is suing Monsanto. The 46-year-old blames his 2014 cancer diagnosis on Roundup's active ingredient, glyphosate.
Lee Johnson was a groundskeeper for the Benicia Unified School District, and he got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He found out that this could potentially be caused by Monsanto's herbicide product, so he sued the company.
I met Mackenzie at the trial in San Francisco. She came up to me and said, thank you for, fighting the fight. When I heard her story about what she was able to do at Berkeley, I reached out to her and asked her if I could help with her campaign.
I think about Lee Johnson and what he's going through, and I think that if I can prevent one person from going through what he's going through, then I must. And so I want to get herbicides out of every school in the country. And being from Hawaii, I thought, all right, should I start from there? And so I worked with a group of nonprofits, and we brought Lee Johnson and his family to Hawaii. And by the end of the trip, we got all herbicides banned from every public school in the state, which was huge. I really think one person can make a difference, and frankly, we don't have time to sit around. We have to change for the sake of future generations and for the health of this planet.
Thank you so much for watching that. Okay. Oh wait, no, I didn't share it. Sorry, one sec. Okay. Yeah. So you got to kind of see how we got started there. And I know one of was it the Biodiversity Week? You all talked about Herbicide-Free Campus, so that was super cool. And I know you're already kind of familiar. But just from the video, yeah, basically that, showed up to beach volleyball practice one day, and it was a perfect moment to do something about this because it was happening to me. And I felt like, wow, if this person is actually open to us picking the weeds, that's right away we were able to just make a change. And me and Bridget thought, wow, we could really expand this campaign to the rest of campus and do that same thing. And so I wrote this op-ed in the school paper about it, and it gained a lot of student interest and community interest. Here's a photo from that day when we were just picking the weeds by hand at the court. And after that, we formed a student group through the student government, and we started to put together these work days. And when we first contacted the grounds manager that maintained the whole UC Berkeley campus, we were aggressive, and we said, I can't believe you're spraying these kind of chemicals, or this is dangerous, and blah, blah, blah. And he was just very not receptive to that at all. And it wasn't until we changed the way we approached it, and we said, thank you so much for taking care of our grounds. These people are up early. They're there before anyone is even at school. They work really hard. And even if they are using herbicides, they put a lot of care and pride in their work. So when we changed the way we approached him and we said, thank you so much for everything you do, is there any way we can help you and support you? And he was really open to that. And he said, sure, do you want to get coffee? And he responded in 10 minutes after we'd sent him probably 15 emails before that were a lot more aggressive. So we got coffee and kind of just proposed these workday ideas, and we got him to apply for a grant that brought in these organic landscapers, professionals that could train them on how to pick on how to transition to organic management, which would be like overseeding and compost tea and aeration and these different methods. And so he was really open to that. And these are just some photos from different spots on campus or different schools. And it's really cool that now students are, have this relationship with the groundskeepers. And I'm not sure if you know the groundskeepers at your school. I mean, I didn't before I was doing this, but if I would say once you're back at school in person, it's a really good thing to kind of figure out who is maintaining your campus and maybe how can you get students to help them and come out to show up for weeding days. And I think Debbie Raphael is speaking today too, and she will say the same thing, like pilot projects are super important. She's really big on that, and I totally agree. And so when we did this pilot project at Berkeley to prove that you can maintain a space organic, and it's this space with the sign, it's perfectly manicured, it's super green, it's very beautiful, and that's all organic management. And so like being able to prove that with one site is like people are less intimidated or kind of scared to try something new if it's just one site, and we've proved that this works. And at the same time, I don't think that we need to accept like this aesthetic goal of a campus. Like, why should we have these like huge green grass spaces? Like, why can't we be growing foods or, plant fruit trees or bring back native plants or like drought resistant plants? Like I think that's the lawn is a very outdated colonial idea of like what beautification is on a campus. And so I think hopefully like one thing that you can take away from this is that in the spaces that you're a part of, especially if you're a student and you're like paying to go to a university, like you should have a say in what it looks like. And so our students are working with like landscape architecture departments to figure out how we can kind of change some of the spaces so that they don't require herbicides, and they also could just look different. And this is our chancellor from UC Berkeley, and then the grounds manager. So it was really cool to have them kind of come together and be, stoked for our campaign. It was a cool moment. And then you recognize this face over here, Alice. This, I talked about it in the video, but in the trial, I had graduated in 2018, and then this Lee Johnson versus Monsanto trial happened where Lee, the groundskeeper, got cancer and sued Monsanto. And I had just graduated, was interested in the trial, just went to it, had no idea what I was going to do after I graduated. I knew the campaign would continue at Berkeley, but I didn't think it would be possible to ever expand it. But when I went to the trial, it was really inspiring, and I realized that this issue is so important. And if I can find other people at different campuses that were passionate about this, like this idea could spread. And so was really lucky that Judy introduced me to Alice, and we got this going at other UCs. And so this is Alice speaking at one of the regents meetings, and we did that. We showed up to the President Napolitano's office. We had a petition. We had a bunch of people email her. And so she ended up banning glyphosate at all the schools, at all the 10 UC schools, which was awesome. And at the same time, we're still pushing for all organic, because you might ban glyphosate, but you could still be using glufosinate or other harmful herbicides. And so we're really pushing for all organic by 2025. And since then, we've expanded. So we're at about 18 schools now, a couple of high schools. This is a photo. We brought Lee Johnson to Hawaii and he spoke, and we got herbicides banned at all the public schools in Hawaii, which was awesome. And this is just one of the photos I took recently of like our nationwide call. And it's just cool because for so long, felt like it was just me doing this. And definitely there's times where I feel burnt out, and I'm sure there will be times where you also feel like that. And I know you screened the Greta movie yesterday, and I think one big takeaway that I had from that film, I really liked how they were on it. She was honest about how, this is really hard, and it shouldn't fall on one person to have such big responsibility. And I think if you ever feel burnt out, I think the best thing that you can do is just train other people on what you're doing, because that way, at least now Greta could take a step back, and even it's not all just about the work she's doing, but it's like she's inspired so many people to become activists. And so the work doesn't have to end with her. It's like it continues. And I think for me, like that's a big thing, is just like being able to train all these other students so that one day it's not me having to do this anymore. And there's like all these, it's a massive movement of students all over the country that are doing this. And so I would just say, whatever issue that you're passionate about, if you start an initiative, always try and bring people in and train them. So, and I think that's the best thing that you can do as a leader, is always like teaching people what you know and then inspiring them to go out and make changes.